in all of your years in business?
The one thing I wish I knew before I got started was all of the legal things that you have to know when you have a business. It's not just a matter of saying I'm in business and there you go. The government wants a whole bunch of stuff from you and you got paperwork to file and all of that. So I wish I would have had somebody advising me on those issues.
Well, I agree with John. Knowing a lot of the administrative parts that go along with the business is probably one of the biggest challenging things, and getting the right professionals to help you with that right from the very beginning or as soon as you can, from the accounting standpoint, the legal standpoint, employees, payroll, all those types of things. If you can get somebody that knows what they're doing with that to help you, that would be very beneficial.
One thing I've learned in business, well, I think everybody has to serve somebody, and there's people that you serve above you and below you, and finding out where you bring value to the organization, and at the end of the day, how you can benefit the business and help it meet its goals, its strategic goals. You're going to find your way and have a good career, I think.
And for me, I have to almost reiterate what Mimi said, is that honestly, the one thing that I wish I had known and had been better prepared for is the financial side of the business, and having an accountant with me from the very beginning to talk with me about pricing and just the various ways in which I have to run my business now. I still struggle to try to keep up with that, even though I now have the professionals helping me.
Mm-hmm. One of the reasons I wanted to hold this roundtable was to give everyone an opportunity to see all the stuff that comes into having a business. It's not like you just wake up, like John said, and say, I'm going to start a business, and off you go. There is a lot of stuff that comes into that. So I really wanted to let the audience know that's a big component of what they're doing when they're building a social media business. They're building a business. It doesn't matter what kind of business. There's a lot that comes into that. You all have employees, or you have independent contractors. What advice would you give for hiring people for the first time?
I would say have a clear system of accountability set up, and this is when you're working with independent contractors, especially employees you have a little bit more control over, and you know all the accountability up front, and prevents a lot of people from getting burned, and get everything in writing.
To follow up with what John had said, probably about 2 years ago, I actually hired an HR consultant to help me with the hiring process. And I had employees long before that, but it's always like rewriting the ad that's going to be posted. You know, it's like I'm reinventing the wheel each time. Whereas this way, she came up with, from a legal standpoint and professional standpoint, how the ad should be written, how the interview should be conducted, the accountability standpoints, your 60-day or 90-day evaluation, and so on. So that was helpful, because sometimes it's just like, you know some of this, but it gets a little bit overwhelming at times.
In terms of hiring, and I had a chance to hire field managers as well as people that would work with independent contractors, but the interview is key. The person is always going to be on their best behavior in that interview. If you have any sense whatsoever that they're not going to work out, listen to that sense, that they are going to always be on their best behavior in that interview. Also, don't be afraid to leave a position open until you find the right person. It can be extremely attractive to bring somebody in because you have an immediate need. You'll meet that need, but you're going to cause yourself a lot more trouble down the road if you don't find exactly the right person.
Couldn't agree with you more. But one of the things I have to say that I have found is, as you're saying, they're always on their best behavior when they first come in. Check references. Don't think that because someone is so great and cheerful and answers the questions just as you think they should be answered, always check the references. And if they don't have the references that you're looking for, such as previous job, supervisors, managers, ask them for it. And of course, through experience, you'll become more and more savvy at hiring people, as I feel that I am now.
May I answer? Yeah. In terms of asking questions, as you go through that process and interview people, you're going to hopefully ask open-ended questions, and you'll often find that they don't give you a direct answer. Drilling in and making sure they give you the full answer and give you the right answer, I think, is key. Also with the resume, looking for the gaps. Those are usually some very interesting stories. And people are usually very candid with you during the interview, but it's helpful. You have to ask, or they won't volunteer that.
Great responses. I just hired my first employee, and he'll start in 2 weeks. One of the things that I did was I actually had somebody in the interview with me, and that helped for me to gauge what they thought of the person too, and they actually asked me questions that I hadn't thought of. Wouldn't it make sense to have asked them about their use of social media? But here I am thinking, what's your strength and your weakness and all this other stuff? Sometimes it's right in front of you, so I would definitely recommend having another person in the interview. Dan, since you don't own a business, but you work in the newspaper industry, can you tell us about how your role has changed over the past few months and what you believe this might mean for the future of the industry as well as social media?
Sure. My role has changed drastically, as I said in the opening, from logistics and operations and customer service to social media, email, and data. I've always been interested in how we might more effectively communicate and connect with our customers. So instead of broadcasting information, maybe have actual conversations with them. I'm not really sure what my position means for the future of newspapers. Certainly what I hope it means for the future of our media organization is that we come to understand our readers more, that they want to dialogue with us, with the people who produce the news and information, which really is part of their daily lives. Having worked directly with readers for 2 decades gives you, I think, a unique perspective in the key role that the Patriot News plays in their daily routines. So it's been great to be able to bring that forward and talk about that in the company.
If the Patriot News sounds familiar to you, it's only because we had interviewed Mary Pratt from the Patriot News in Module 1, and she was telling us about some of the exciting things that they're now doing. So that's great. All right, so for everybody here, we're going to get into the marketing just a little bit. How important is networking in your business, both face-to-face and online, for growing your customer base?
For me, networking face-to-face was the only way to start a business. I, worked in Maryland, so I did know people up here, but not in the way that I needed to. So getting out to networking events, chamber events, just getting known in the business circle of my community was important. And still, word of mouth and networking at events and speaking is how I get gigs. So I think it's pretty important. Social media to me is a follow-up to that offline dialogue, and so I use it just to continue to build the relationships after they've been created.
Networking for me has been very important. There's numerous different parts of networking. Some of our networking is directly with the sales staff at different facilities that then in turn refer their clients to me, so they may not be the specific client that's being billed, but they refer the business to me. There is other networking opportunities where we are dealing directly with a potential client. So I think when they can see you face to face is always really good. As far as the social media aspect, I think it's just a way to remind them that you're still here, because they may not see you at every networking event, or they may miss one or something like that. So at least with the social networking, it's a reminder that you're here and you can get other information out to these people.
Networking professionally has been very important to me. We have a regional circulation managers association. I've been active with them for many years and served with them. I'm an officer in the organization right now, so the ability to reach out to other people with similar problems, challenges to what we were facing, I think has been key. Networking in the area also through the social media club, as you know, Rachel, has been key for me over the last 9 months. I don't know that I would have gotten to this point in this position without the help and support of people who are facing the same challenges that I am. So, and then also your phone, when your phone rings, answer it. Every one of those customer calls, even though I'm not directly in that line right now is still an ability for us to have a contact and a connection with the customer, which is key.
And for me, networking, I didn't realize how important it would be until a few years into owning the Cornerstone. I was asked to serve on the CREDIC board, which is part of our economic development group here in our region. And at first I thought, oh my, do I have to go to meetings now? And I realized after that, and this was probably about 7 years ago, and I had already owned my business for over 5 years, thinking, oh yeah, customers keep coming in, you know, what the heck. But I realized then that it's amazing how that networking worked for me. It opened me up to so many other people that I would have never met had I not been on this board. And it has made me grow into a much different person. I now am on several boards. I do a lot of volunteer work. And it's amazing when you give back to not only the boards but to your community how the word gets around. And so I have to say I have to personally thank my mother for that because she's involved in everything.
All of you guys brought up amazing points. I mean, really, giving back to the community, everybody here has, and I can think of specific instances. So this is phenomenal. I really liked what you said too, John, about following up after you meet them. There are people who will try to replace face-to-face interaction with social media, and that's not the case. So please don't advise your customers that. We want them to be out and seeing people face-to-face. It really makes a big difference, and social media should enhance that effort. So we have one more question for this group. Many watching this program will be entering the field of social media. What's your experience with social media, and what would you expect of someone who would manage your social media?
Wow, well, I've been around it since the beginning, since MySpace looked ugly and I cursed Facebook because I wasn't a college student anymore and they wouldn't let me on. But it's grown. I mean, social media has just gotten fun and exciting, and if I were looking for somebody to manage social media for my company, I would want somebody who is just passionate about it, who is sociable offline as well as online, outgoing personality, and just excited at the opportunities that social media has to offer businesses and marketing and all of that. It would be a lot about passion.
Okay. My experience with social media hasn't been quite as extensive as John, or as long as it has been. Our business has been utilizing social media for 8 months, 9 months, something like that. So going on to a year. And I think it's important as far as, you know, people seeing our message, and I have received positive feedback on that, even if it doesn't, they're not a direct customer per se, but the word is out there. I think it is an important part of our business to just have that constant presence out there. As far as somebody who's going to do social media, I think you know, John's correct as far as they have to have a passion for what they're doing, that they actually understand what your specific business is, and understand what your specific goals are, and not necessarily think they know what your goals are and do whatever it is that they want to do. And also somebody that follows through with whatever it is that they say they're going to do for the social media.
I was going to talk about goals as well. I think that's key. I mean, certainly you can get out there and post pictures and have conversations and do that a lot, but if you're not actually moving the business forward and getting being a help to that, that would be less productive than someone who was going to listen to you as a business owner and find out what exactly you need and where they can fit into your total marketing plan. I think they've got to know your business to a certain extent, and they've got to be interested in your business. It's not just a client, but it's a partner, and they've got to really understand that they're going to speak for you, and they need to be able to speak for you well and do it with passion, as John said.
And I'll probably go back to what I said about networking. This did the same thing for me as networking did for me. Social media opened up new doors that I never thought would open up. And when I started back in November, I almost immediately could tell that I was getting more people in my business. there were different things that I could just measure that were showing to me that social media truly was working. When I first started doing social media, and I don't do it, someone else does it for me, you. Can I say that? You can.
It's out there now.
It's there now, buddy. Anyway, when I first started doing it, I was not leery at all, because I really felt it would bring more people in, a younger group of people in, the 20s and 30s something, because my coffee house is so diverse. But I also wanted my other parts of my business, such as the catering and the cooking schools and the private parties, to be more advertised too. And that has really gotten the word out. My catering has increased. My cooking classes are filled now. I can't, it's been measured, and it has done so well for me. It's just brought in a whole new group of people. And the person that you need to have, of course, has to be interested, as everyone else here has said. You have to be interested in what you're doing, have a passion for what you do, and have a passion for my business and what I do.
All of you brought up great points. I especially like the point about having the passion for what you do and knowledge of the business. One of the first things that I ask customers are, what are your goals and what are your challenges in your business? Because if I don't understand that, how am I going to relay that online? Also, I really liked what everyone said about being sociable and being, and you don't have to be queen bee, but you have to have a general understanding. It's so important. I see businesses out there now. I mean, these people are credible businesses, meaning the government will let them be a business, and they're charging $150 for one tweet every 3 days, and the tweet's just a sales message. I mean, you really have to understand a little bit about what you're doing to get into this field. And it's unfortunate because there are a good number of people who really don't understand and aren't doing it correctly, but because social media is so new, they can take advantage of businesses. Well, we're about to wrap up. I just wanted to see if anybody had anything to add to the conversation today, whether it be about being a business owner or about social media or anything else. I'm just opening up the conversation.
Just in regards to being a business owner, I think you have to be, somebody came in today and asked me about opening up their own coffee house. And my comment to them, the most important comment I could make to them is be prepared, and be prepared to work really hard on your business. It's not something that is for the faint of heart at all. You have to be prepared and be willing to work very hard.
Anybody else have anything?
I would just say, if you're going into social media business and you're going to be handling other people's business, you need to learn what numbers matter to them and keep a big eye on those numbers and make sure the work you're doing is moving those numbers. It's not just having conversations. You are trying to achieve a goal and win a game,
Right.
and get results. So know the numbers and watch the numbers.
All right, well, thank you guys for being on this panel. I really appreciate it, and thank you.